loves, you're officially tuned into Friendsgiving, a series on friendship brought to you by Septembre Love. Hope you enjoy. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It has been such a long time, too long, and I'm so glad to be here with you guys. For those who are celebrating Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving to you. In Canada, it's Thanksgiving today. I wish you guys a safe, happy, and healthy Thanksgiving. I am so glad to be back today to start this new series. This is going to be called the Friendsgiving series, a series on friendships, and kind of looking into how friendships affect us and how they shape us a little bit. You know, I love friendships, and I think they're very beautiful. And if you guys have seen my recent post on Instagram called Take a Look, it's in green. Check that. That was kind of inspired by some conversations I had with people and conversations I had with my friends about friendships and looking at ourselves and how these relationships affect us and how beautiful they can be, and they also require work as well. And so I don't want to take too long. So today I'll be filming a video based off and inspired from one of my favorite blog posts I've ever done, and it's called The Perfect Worst Friend Part 1 and 2. And this was a blog I wrote back in 2018. So before I carry on, let me encourage you guys to please subscribe, hit the notification bell, share this video, comment below, get it out there. I really want to have this conversation about friendships. Welcome to the Friendsgiving series. Back in 2018, I wrote a blog post. That's when I kind of relaunched my blog. If you haven't been there, it's septembrelove.wordpress.com. Check it out. And this post was called The Perfect Worst Friend. And it was reflective to not where I am now, but to where I was at that time. And I kind of went through how I got there, how I got to that place of being the best worst friend you could ever have. And it was an interesting place for me at the time of my life. At that time, I was not a good friend. And not in the sense of like, oh, I am, telling people's business or things like that, but in terms of my availability. Like, I wasn't present. I wasn't available for my friends the way I needed to be. Not the way I was used to being, I should say. And I was like, what is happening? But it was a weird space to be in because I was so accustomed to being a certain way with my friends, my friendships. I was in a place in 2018 where I wasn't a great friend. I was kind of like mute, like kind of just like sat back for a little bit, and I didn't mind. And this wasn't from a place of bitterness or a place of, like, who cares? I'm gonna hold me down. And it wasn't like that. It wasn't anything. It was just simply exhaustion. I was exhausted, and mentally, emotionally, physically, I was just drained. And that exhaustion came from approaching friendships in the wrong way and thinking and having the wrong idea of what a true friend is supposed to be. And for me, a true friend at that time of my life meant I had to be everyone's savior. I had to be there for everyone all the time, physically be there all the time, whenever they needed, be there a phone call away and answer. Like, I had all these like crazy expectations of myself at the time that were not realistic at all. Now, when I was in this place in my life, I wasn't necessarily happy, but I was okay with it. I wasn't like, wow, I'm so glad I'm here. I was kind of just confused. Like, the way I thought about my friendships and the way I dealt with my friendships was different at the time. And I realized it happened for two reasons. Two reasons being, I was someone who thrived off of validation. I sought validation in my friendships. Like, that's how I felt whole, and that's where my identity lied, and being a good friend. And another thing was having people in my life who were takers. So I kind of want to break this down a little bit very quickly for you guys to kind of help you to understand where I was at this time in my life. And maybe you're there now. I'm no longer there, thank God, but maybe you're in that space now and you're kind of like, what is this? And it's a very weird place to be in. So for me, growing up, I was always the child who never wanted to disappoint, never wanted to make mistakes. I was hard on myself. I would ground myself if I got like a bad mark. Like I was that kid. Like I was like, this is unacceptable. I'm going upstairs. Like I was that kid, and I would like cry and like keep myself from certain things because I'm like, I don't deserve to play with that. I don't deserve to watch this show or do this activity. Like that's how I was. And so I feel that is where it started from. It wasn't something that started from my friendships. It was something that was kind of like a part of my personality, you know? And so with this type of personality and this way of thinking, going into friendships like that is not the best. It's not a recipe for something you want, you know? And with me thinking that way and being that kind of person, friendships or my relationships was where I felt whole, was where I was like, okay, this is how I'm going to, I'm going to be the perfect person for people, whatever that meant. And so that was a disaster. My identity was so wrapped up in what people said about me. So if, I got a bad mark, or if I made a mistake, or what I very bad self-talk. And I still do sometimes. I still struggle. I'm not going to lie. I still struggle with that. But I have very bad self-talk. So I was like, you know what? I really gotta be this perfect person. It kind of just started from then. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to feel validated. I wanted to feel worthy. And so and this is all comes from a place of low self-esteem. Because why else would you care so much about what people think to the point where their words literally shape your life so much so? Having that validation issue, and then having people in my life who I would call, I guess we'll call them takers. Now, takers, I know it sounds really like, yeah, they just took from me, they just blah, 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 blah. But it's not like that. Someone could be a taker intentionally or unintentionally. By that, I mean, there are people who are unintentional takers where maybe they haven't experienced a friendship or a relationship that you've provided to them. And so naturally you're like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And you take because you're not used to that. And you're excited. It's like going in a candy store. You're like, and they say take everything you want. You're like, oh my God, okay. And you kind of just like go crazy. It's kind of like that. And they're takers like that it's unintentional. They're not trying to take advantage of you. They're not trying to hurt you in any way, but they're just like, I've never been loved like this before. I've never had a friendship like this before. So they take advantage, and they don't really know how to reciprocate, because maybe in their lives, they're used to being the one that has to nurture a friendship or this and that. They're in a place where they're not feeling strong in that area. So to have someone who's like, wow, I'm here for you. They're like, really? Like, all right, great, because I can chill right now. And so it's not really a reciprocal friendship. It ends up being one-sided because they're in a place where they're not able to give. And there are takers who intentionally take, like they just take advantage of you because they know you're going to be there. So imagine that, having takers, whether they're intentional or unintentional, and then you being someone has low self-esteem and is seeking validation from people and from their words, their actions. It shapes who you are and shapes how you see yourself. It was just a mess. So for me, in 2018 was kind of when this all hit me. I've been dealing with this all my life. It wasn't something that happened at that moment, but it was basically 2018 was the point where I was like, okay, I'm tired. Like, I'm just exhausted. And a lot of these things happen like in my teenage years, in my early 20s, and obviously through childhood and stuff like that. So I got to a place where I was like, darn, I'm exhausted. Like, I just felt like I had nothing left to give. So at that time in my life, how I became the perfect worst friend is I couldn't give more. I couldn't give my norm at the time. I wasn't able to do all that I would normally do or be all that I normally would be in terms of my friendships. I was drained. I was completely done. I felt like, you know what? There were times that I would have like conversations with people. Someone would call me,
hey girl, what's going on? How are you?
I'm like, hey, and maybe I have a lot going on in my head. Hey, what's up? I'm like, great, this is my time to like say what I have to say. Honestly, girls, so much is happening. Like, I'm so stressed. Like, you don't even know.
Girl, me too. Let me tell you. Okay, so yesterday, and
I was like, all right. I felt terrible. Because I'm like, I wish I could say something. I wish I could express myself or like, say what I want to say. And I used to feel bad for feeling that way. Like, why would you, that you're supposed to be there for them? It's not about you and you're being selfish. Like, I would literally be upset at myself for wanting to express my, what I'm going through as well. I didn't feel that having someone ask me about me or where I was, I felt like, okay, I shouldn't feel that way because I'm being selfish. Like, that's literally how I thought, guys. And it was so unhealthy. And it's unfortunate because at that time, I lost the fight that I would normally have for my friendships. I would be one to really work through friendships, talk about things, deal with stuff. But I realized at that time in my life, I lost the fight and the desire to fight for my friendships, for them to be fixed. So the ones at that time that were naturally like falling away because I was like, meh, I was like, okay. Like it was like being in a game and taking a seat and taking a break. And that's what I was doing. And that's why I was okay with it, because I knew I needed to take a break, because I knew there was a lot of things in me that I had not dealt with. So I was approaching friendships in an unhealthy way. I was approaching it in a way of being someone's savior and being someone's everything, instead of being a supporting person or just being loving and just being present and directing everyone to Christ. And like doing that, I was like, okay, I am going to be the fixer. I am going to solve your problems. I put this on me. And it was just like, God was like, hey, chill. Like, it's not about you. Like, that's not your job. You're not me. I feel like when things changed for me and when these friendships changed, I was confused. And I'm like, why? Okay, this friendship is changing. Typically, I'll be like freaking out, like, hey, let's meet up and talk. Let's figure out what's going on. Like, we're just really drifting apart. And I'm just like, I don't have the energy. I couldn't do it. And I think it's because God had to really deal with those things that were in me that need to be dealt with, like my low self-esteem and how I approach friendships and who I thought I was. Like, you want to be everything for everybody. And I didn't know how to be my own friend first. So because I didn't know how to be my own friend, I didn't know my worth. I sought validation through people's words, and in my friendships, I was crumbling, like literally like crumbling at the seams. And so there were friendships at that time that failed because I was just like, man, I gotta sit out. I'm doing this wrong. I'm playing this game wrong. I'm approaching this not good. And because the friendships were changing around me, and through me forming my friendship with God, like actually forming a friendship, actual relationship with Him, and through me forming a friendship with myself, I began to reflect, because I was typically the person that would want to hold on to a friendship and make it work. And I do believe in having true conversations and working through things as friends. I'm not one to like, oh yeah, we're not friends after one argument, two argument, even 3-10. Like, I don't care, because we're people. Things happen. You're understanding people. But in that time, I feel like in my younger years, I did not have the wisdom of God. I didn't have wisdom to know, hey, should I hold on to this? Should I let this go? Or I was just so focused on, if I let this go, I'm going to be a bad friend and I'm going to be a failure. So I got to hold on to it. Even if it means I'm crumbling at the seams, even if it means that person is hurting by me being in their life. And that's another thing too. We often have this thing where we have to sort of learn to let things go. We have to learn to let things go in the sense that sometimes you holding on to this person, you're ruining them. It's you. Sometimes you being in the person's life at that time, you are ruining them because you're so, like, I felt like that for me. I felt like there's so many people that could not truly see God and truly get their healing because I was just like, let me do it. Let me heal you. And I can't do that. And so I had to realize that I got to let go so I can really figure out myself and they can figure it themselves. And not in a bitter, like, let them go at, no. It's simply like, Shanice, you're also bringing a sense of toxicity to the situation because you think you're the answer. You think you're everything for this person and you're not. Like, that's, God really showed me that. Like, you are not. You need to back it up. And so I felt like I had to sit out a whole new perspective on what it means to be a healthy friend and what it means to be a good friend and what it means to be a true friend. And so at that time in 2018, I became the perfect worst friend. And there's some friends who understood, who kind of could figure out like what was going on and were like, okay, cool. And there's some friends who didn't understand, and I didn't really explain myself. And also because I didn't really know what to say. I didn't really know how to explain it so that would make sense. Because I felt really confused. I was like, what is happening? Like, this person I haven't talked in 2 months and I'm just okay with it? Huh? Like, what? Like, it was strange for me because that would not be the case with me. But I had to learn to be okay with it because I realized, I'm not a good friend because I'm not a friend to myself, and my friendship with God isn't where it needs to be. And so I took a seat, I sat out of the game, I stepped back so that I can deal with those things. And that's kind of, I think 2018 was when I actually started going to therapy. Guys, right now to think, about where you are when it comes to your friendships. What are you in that place where I was, where I was kind of like, I have no fight left, I have no energy left, I'm kind of just gonna sit here for a little bit, and and I knew it wasn't gonna be in that state forever. I knew it was just for a temporary time, and I'm not in that place anymore. My view of friendships now is so much healthier because I'm actually my own friend. Like, I'm actually taking time to learn me, understand me, and like develop in that way, and working through those things that I don't quite understand about myself. I'm doing the work in me so that I can be better for other people. It's kind of what I want to encourage you guys with today, is to look at yourselves, look at your friendships, and see where do you fall. Are you like me, who's past that, you were there before? Are you me in the sense in 2018 where you're like, yo, like, I don't have any energy for this? Are you a friend who feels like you are maybe taking? Are you reciprocating what's being reciprocated, what's being given to you? Or are you kind of just sitting there and just taking it? Like, oh yeah, they're loving, they're kind, they're this, they're that. I'll just accept it. Are you also pouring into them as well? And another thing too that I had to realize is that not everyone is meant to pour into you, and every different friends serve different purposes. And that also alleviates a level of disappointment, and not in a way of bitterness, but just understanding your role and their role. It makes it easier. I know there's some friends or people in my life that I couldn't call on, but I know they can call on me, and they're more than welcome to call on me. But I know I have my friends who I can call on. They can call on me. Like, you know what I mean? It's just really knowing your circle, knowing your space, knowing who people are, so you're not disappointed, so you don't feel hurt, having those conversations you need to have, and really letting these friendships be beautiful and be what they are organically. Be loving, have conversations, be intentional, be present, but make sure that first and foremost you're dealing with you, and you're dealing with how you see yourself. You're dealing with your negative self-talk, because that carries into your relationships. I was so run down. I was so stuck on being this perfect person for people, and obviously that's not possible. And so many times I disappointed myself, and I feel like I'm the worst person ever, and all these different things. And it dragged on into these relationships, and it really affected me to the point where I had nothing left to give to my relationships. I don't want you guys to get there. And if you're there, I pray that you will get out soon and you really start to do some soul searching and really having those conversations with God, so you can see, like, what do I need to fix within myself? For me, when I look at those situations, I gotta take blame for that. The only reason people were able to take the way they did when it comes to me is because I had no self-esteem. I was I was thriving off their words. It's not their fault. It's my fault too, because no one can do to me what I don't allow them to do. And I allowed that because I didn't know any better, and I thought that was okay. And it got me to a place where I was drained and exhausted and tired. And I don't want that for you. So my encouragement for you guys today is to look at yourselves, look at your friendships, and do some soul searching, do some digging. All right. And I'm so excited for the rest of this series. I hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you guys have an awesome Thanksgiving. Love you all. Bye.